I used to think trust was the easiest thing in marriage. You love, you commit, you believe, simple. But somewhere between, I'll be home by 8, and don't wait up, my wife taught me how fragile belief can be. Her name is Emily. We'd been married 7 years, long enough to know each other's habits. She liked lists, scented candles, and the quiet hum of late-night emails for work. I liked that she had ambition. She liked that I didn't question it. Lately, though, the glow from her laptop wasn't the same kind of light. Felt secret. Her phone started living face down, locked, like it owed someone else privacy. When she told me she'd be working late again, I didn't argue. I just asked, "Want me to drop off dinner?" She hesitated, that half-second pause that tells you more than any excuse could. "No, babe. We'll probably order in. Go to sleep early. Okay?" That was Tuesday. Wednesday, she said the same thing. Thursday, too. Each time, the tone was practiced, like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. By Friday, something in me snapped. Not loud, not angry, just tired of wondering. I told her I had a night shift at the shop. "I don't work night shifts." She smiled absently, kissed my cheek, and left wearing perfume I'd never smelled before. An hour later, I sat in my truck outside her office building. It was dark except for one lit floor, the marketing department. I waited, half hoping she'd really be there under those fluorescent lights, half afraid she wouldn't. At 8:43 p.m., Emily walked out. She wasn't alone. A man followed, maybe mid-30s, confident stride, laughing at something she said. They didn't touch, not yet, but the space between them hummed like it wanted to close. I didn't get out of the truck. I just raised my phone, clicked one photo, her stepping off the curb, his hand brushing the small of her back. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd misunderstand. Maybe it was harmless. But when she glanced up, smiling at him in that easy, familiar way, I realized I'd never seen that smile aimed at me for months. I didn't confront her then. I waited until she texted at 10:12. "Still finishing up. Don't wait for me." My thumb hovered over her message. Then I attached the photo and wrote one line. "Is this what working late looks like now?" The message showed delivered. Then read. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, came back. Then nothing. I waited. 10 minutes. 20. 30. I wasn't even angry, just numb. The kind of silence that sits heavy in your chest. At 11:06, she called. I didn't answer. The next text read, "Ethan, please don't do anything stupid. It's not what it looks like." But that was the problem. It looked like trust dying, and I wasn't sure how to unsee it. By midnight, I went home. Her car wasn't there. The bed felt too clean, too empty. I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow, thinking about how easily love turns into confusion. At 1:42 a.m., she walked in quietly. I heard her shoes off, keys on the counter, the soft creak of guilt. She stopped in the doorway of our room, whispering, "Can we talk?" I didn't move. She sat on the edge of the bed, her voice trembling but careful. "It's not what you think. That guy Mark, he's new. He needed help with a client presentation. We grabbed coffee to go over numbers." Her story was clean, too clean, like a PowerPoint slide she'd memorized. I looked at her and said quietly, "Then why lie about working late?" She blinked, caught between offense and fear. "I just didn't want you to worry. You always assume the worst." That sentence, "you always assume the worst," echoed in my head long after she turned away. Because for the first time, I realized I hadn't assumed anything. I just stopped believing her words before she even finished them. When she finally fell asleep beside me, pretending everything was fine, I stared at her hand resting on my pillow and thought, how many lies fit inside a marriage before it collapses under their weight? The photo was still in my phone. The truth still waiting for morning. Morning came heavy. The kind of morning that feels like a hangover even when you haven't touched a drop. Emily moved around the kitchen like nothing happened. Coffee brewing, toast popping, her humming slightly off-key. I watched her from the doorway, wondering how easily routine can hide wreckage. She finally looked up. "You're not going to say anything?" "About what?" I asked. "About last night." About the photo. I shrugged. You already had your explanation ready. Didn't want to interrupt the rehearsal. Her jaw tightened. You don't trust me, Ethan. That's the problem. I laughed. Not out of humor, but disbelief. You're right. I don't. Because trust isn't built out of excuses at midnight. She crossed her arms. So what now? You want to check my phone? My emails? You want proof I didn't cheat? No, I said quietly. I wanted honesty before I had to look for proof. She looked away. For a second, I saw it, the flicker of guilt or maybe regret. Then she straightened her back and said, You've been distant for months. You barely talk. I feel invisible. That's why I stay late. Work feels easier than home. That hit harder than I expected. Because part of it was true. I had been distant, long hours, deadlines, half-listening conversations. Maybe somewhere in that space, she found comfort in someone else's attention. But still, lying wasn't fixing anything. I said, You could have said that instead of inventing overtime. She didn't answer. The silence between us was a long, tired sigh neither of us knew how to release. The day dragged on in fragments, two people living in the same house but on different planets. Around noon, I took a drive. Sometimes distance makes honesty easier. I ended up at the park near her office, sitting on a bench, scrolling through that photo again. The image wasn't explosive. No kisses, no hands intertwined, just proximity and comfort. But it told a story anyway. I thought about deleting it, pretending last night didn't happen. But erasing proof doesn't erase memory. By evening, she texted, Can we talk tonight? I'll be home early. When she walked in, she looked smaller somehow, like she'd rehearsed courage all day and was running out of it. She sat across from me at the table where we'd eaten hundreds of silent dinners. Ethan, I wasn't having an affair, she started softly. But I was lying. I liked the attention. It made me feel noticed. Her words weren't loud, but they hit with precision. You stopped looking at me like you used to, she continued. And when Mark laughed at my jokes, remembered my coffee order, it felt nice. I knew it was wrong. That's why I lied. There it was, the truth, bare and human. Not betrayal in the physical sense, but emotional disloyalty all the same. I said, You wanted to feel wanted. I wanted to feel trusted. We both failed different tests. She nodded, tears sliding down quietly. I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix this. I looked at her, at the person who once felt like home, and realized fixing wasn't the goal anymore. It was understanding what broke. Maybe it's not about fixing, I said. Maybe it's about deciding if what's left is worth saving. We sat in silence again, but this time it felt cleaner. Like the truth had disinfected the room, even if it still stung. Later that night, she packed a small bag. Not everything, just essentials. I'll stay with my sister for a bit, she whispered. I nodded. No argument, no begging. Just quiet acceptance. As the door closed behind her, the house felt both heavier and lighter. I walked into our bedroom, saw her coffee mug on the nightstand, her perfume faint in the air, and I realized something. Trust doesn't shatter all at once. It erodes. A smile at the wrong time. A lie too small to notice. Then one day you're taking photos of proof because words stopped being enough. I didn't send her another message. Didn't post, didn't call. I just let silence do what truth couldn't. Finish the conversation. Weeks later, she texted, I think about that night every day. I wish I'd just told you the truth sooner. I replied, I wish I hadn't needed a photo to see what we'd already lost. No anger, no hate, just closure, the kind that doesn't need forgiveness, only distance. And sometimes that's all marriage ends up being. Two people who loved each other enough to lie gently, until the truth finally demanded its turn.